Really, really good. Proud of you.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
Kinda proud.
Look, for your first side, was a perfect no, but she made plays, she operated. Shedeur he's a very impressive young man. He's poised, he's calm, he's smart. You can tell that he's been raised by, really quite honestly, a Hall of Fame dad. Look, we're going to get to know him even more.
Andrew Berry is back and stunned everyone with a bold call. He bumped Shedeur Sanders ahead of Dillon Gabriel, jumping him from the 3rd spot to the 2nd. Here's the twist. Berry is all in on Shedeur, and it's intentional. He was the one inside the Browns organization who pushed for Shedeur to join the team. We saw the signs in the preseason. Berry clearly wanted Shedeur Sanders to break through and succeed in the NFL.
In regards to Shedeur and Theon's not going to interfere. Theon's not going to be calling the coach. Theon's not going to be commenting about Shedeur while he's in Colorado. Lou, I think there's a lot of just fake news out there.
All spring, Andrew Berry zeroed in on Shedeur Sanders. His initial plan was to get him in the 1st or 2nd round. When the board didn't break that way, you could see the urgency. By round 5, Berry pushed the issue. He pressed the Haslams to greenlight the pick and bring Shedeur to Cleveland. His pitch covered more than arm talent and processing speed. He emphasized Shedeur's market presence and ability to lift the franchise's profile. That combination sealed it, and the Browns made the move. From there, Shedeur quickly became one of the team's most visible figures, which many around the league expected. Cleveland then moved Kenny Pickett, narrowing the depth chart traffic and giving Shedeur a cleaner runway to compete for meaningful snaps. The message was simple: opportunity is coming, and the path is clear. After a strong preseason debut, Berry sought Shedeur out and delivered direct praise. That wasn't a routine pat on the back, it was a deliberate public endorsement. It signaled how the Browns view him, not just as another quarterback on the roster, but as a priority investment with both on-field upside and off-field impact. The organization's actions, draft capital, roster moves, and visible support line up behind the same idea. They're betting on Shedeur Sanders and intend to give him every chance to grow into a central piece of this team.
Really, really good. Proud of you.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
Kinda proud.
Look, for your first side, it was a perfect no, but she made plays, she operated, it just stacked.
I love when you tell the facts, dude. No, but it's okay.
Listen, you did a nice job.
Andrew Berry's bet on Shedeur Sanders is aging well, and the media is starting to echo that view. Mary Kay Cabot recently argued that Shedeur is the primary reason the Cleveland Browns remain in the conversation after a rough year. In her view, amid team-wide struggles, it's Sanders' presence, his profile, buzz, and flashes that kept Cleveland from slipping out of the spotlight entirely. Without him, she suggests, the Browns likely drift off the national radar. That ripple effect validates Berry's aggressive stance. The move wasn't just about a depth chart, it was about relevance and upside. Cabot also underscored that Shedeur isn't merely a headline, he's a quarterback with real runway to grow. His tools and poise are too substantial for Cleveland to park on the sidelines, and she pushed for a genuine opportunity to see what he can be with proper support. The calculus is straightforward. If he meets expectations, the Browns have a young centerpiece. If he doesn't, the organization can still reassess and pivot. Either way, the signal is clear. Berry's conviction in Shedeur Sanders has positioned Cleveland to capture attention now, while exploring a ceiling that could reshape the team's future.
It was too much value to pass up there, a developmental quarterback that they could take a look at and just kind of see what they had.
Right now, his upside clearly outweighs the downside. It's a bet the team can't ignore. After Shedeur Sanders' tough preseason outing, when critics jumped in, Andrew Berry didn't let it drift. Instead of excuses, he acted. He pulled the entire offensive line that had been on the field with Shedeur. That decision shook the building and made the front office's stance obvious. Protect the quarterback, give him a fair evaluation, and set him up to succeed. It signaled full investment in his development. Berry's move wasn't just a swap of personnel, it set a standard. He pushed for accountability, demanded changes, and focused on building a setting where Shedeur can grow instead of being put in losing spots. It's one of the strongest steps in reshaping the Browns roster and shows real trust in Shedeur's trajectory. There's also a bigger plan here. These choices aren't only about one game. They're tied to the long-term quarterback picture. With Dillon Gabriel's physical limitations and Kenny Pickett gone, the front office knows it needs a quarterback who can handle NFL speed and punishment. The post-Joe Flacco roadmap depends on getting this decision right. After all of that, Kevin Stefanski's latest comments flipped the tone. He's now publicly backing Shedeur's growth, regardless of outside noise. That's notable because Stefanski previously downplayed Shedeur's upside and critiqued him. With Pickett out of the mix, the focus has shifted. Shedeur's size, strength, and on-field tools are giving him a real edge over Gabriel. While there are ongoing questions about Gabriel's frame, Shedeur looks like the more complete option. That difference could be what pushes him up the Browns' depth chart.
I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
TJ Houshmandzadeh has weighed in too, saying the heat on Kevin Stefanski is rising, and a lot of it stems from Andrew Berry's aggressive choices. Houshmandzadeh pointed out that the microscope on Cleveland's quarterback plan is getting sharper, leaving Stefanski with little room for error. His warning was direct. If Stefanski keeps capping Shedeur Sanders' role or downplaying his importance, it could put his job at risk. With the front office and fan base tracking every move and Berry firmly behind Shedeur, any attempt to slow him down could push Stefanski onto the hot seat. Bottom line, Berry's steadfast backing of Shedeur Sanders now defines the Browns' quarterback landscape, and the ripple effects are everywhere. From the early draft push to the decisive preseason calls, Berry has made it clear he intends to give Shedeur a real runway. That stance hasn't just shifted the depth chart, it's also forced key figures, Stefanski included, to recalibrate their approach. What used to be a conversation full of doubts about Shedeur's ceiling has turned into a high-stakes pivot point, with Berry's conviction driving the agenda. As the pressure builds, Stefanski stands at a decision point. The spotlight on Shedeur, the expectations from fans, and the backing from the front office leave minimal margin for missteps. Stefanski has to balance his system with the reality that Berry's faith in Shedeur is now central to the team's direction. The future of the position in Cleveland may hinge on how well Stefanski manages that balance. With Berry all in, the trajectory looks promising, but Stefanski's choices in the coming months will determine whether Shedeur's rise takes off or stalls. What's your read on Andrew Berry's aggressive approach and the pressure on Kevin Stefanski? Do you back Berry's unwavering commitment to Shedeur Sanders? Or is it too much risk for a young quarterback? And how do you feel about Stefanski's shift in tone, given his earlier skepticism? Share your take below. Does this pressure cooker sharpen the Browns, or set them up to stumble?
Was out there, I talked to Denzel Ward.
Yeah.
I talked to some. Wait, I didn't say the name. But anyway, I done talked to some people. He looked different. There's a difference when that young bull is out there spinning that ball. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Difference. I'm talking about football. I ain't talking about no media and all that hoopla and all them. On Twitter they putting up the numbers. Some he with 10 for 12 for 2 touchdowns. I'm talking about when he's at the helm, he looks different. Whether he's going with the first team, second team, or third team, it don't matter.
From being buried on the depth chart as a fourth stringer to suddenly becoming a standout on the second team, Shedeur Sanders just pulled off the most impressive quarterback comeback since Tom Brady made the world believe he wasn't finished at 40.
What is it going to take for you to just buy in to Shedeur Sanders when players all around him are telling you how different he looks, how good he looked, how he just has that aura to him? Because it seems like all the players that are around Shedeur Sanders have nothing but great things to say about him and love him. Because again, he clearly just looks different than the rest of the competition that we've seen. And like I said, the last time I've seen guys go for or say things about a certain player like that, it was Baker Mayfield. So could 12 be that guy? How long until we see 12? Because I feel like it's just a matter of...
The same haters who were cheering when he got dropped to fourth string are now scrambling for excuses faster than a glitchy Wi-Fi during the Super Bowl. Get ready, because this isn't just a step up on the depth chart. It's a serious reality check that's got the critics choking on their own words with a big helping of humble pie.
Being said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep.
Talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, Mike Napier. Once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
The Cleveland Browns training camp just turned into the most talked about event in town. All thanks to Shedeur Sanders, who took his spot as fourth string and used it as motivation for one of the most impressive rises the NFL has seen in years. While everyone was busy counting him out and calling his career dead, Sanders was quietly putting together a performance so good that coaches are saying they haven't witnessed anything like it in the last 15 years.
Drafted in the 5th round, all that means nothing when it's time to play football and that whistle blows. He looks different than the rest of the competition. That's what I heard. And I'm talking from a, not Brother Ward, I'm just talking about from sources that's in that room, that's on that field, that's playing the sport. Man, come on, man.
Yep, coaches with decades of experience are honestly scratching their heads, trying to figure out how someone goes from being a practice squad afterthought to seriously competing for a starting spot in just a few weeks.
Thing is, they never planned on taking him. The problem is, like Ocho Cinco said, you got somebody that has endeared himself to the locker room. And guess what? The difference between him and Tim Tebow, the biggest one, is he can play. He can throw the ball. Tim Tebow running around being an H-back, he can throw the ball. And he's done everything he needs to do. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't rocking the boat. He ain't mad about the reps. He ain't mad about none of that. All the people out there want to see is this, like Tyver said earlier. We want to see what he can do with Jerry Jeudy.
That's it.
I want to see what he can do with David Njoku. I want to see him with Junkins. I want to see him with the first running backs. If you are cooking, if you are beating down the doors with the 3s and 4s, guess what? You deserve more. That was a bar. It rhymed. It was.
Remember when Mary Kay Cabot dropped that bombshell report saying Shedeur Sanders was the 4th string quarterback? The internet blew up faster than a Michael Bay explosion. Critics came out of nowhere, like ants at a picnic, rushing to call his NFL dreams dead on arrival. They claimed he was only shining against guys who'd either end up on practice squads or be out of the league by September. They pointed out he wasn't getting reps in 11-on-11 drills and said he needed to earn his way up the depth chart.
Dude, listen, the guy, all I can say is that he goes where the ball's supposed to go and it looks the way it's supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And when I hear that tells me it sounds like the Browns may have got a steal with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round because I think he'll have a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback in September, like week 1 or 2 or whatever it may be early in the year, but I think he's got a chance to develop into something that hopefully would preclude them from having to draft a quarterback first overall or top 5 next year.
He said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that kid, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep. You talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, Mike Napier. Once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
Funny how the tables have turned. Those same critics are now watching Sanders climb the depth chart like he's scaling Mount Everest with rocket boosters. The guy they wrote off is now the one they can't stop paying attention to. Every completion sends a message. Every perfect throw is a reminder that real talent doesn't stay hidden forever. And with every practice, he's showing that maybe, just maybe, the Browns stumbled upon their hidden gem.
One thing for the fans to sit here and hype up Shedeur Sanders because we all know how we get about certain players that we like. But it's another thing when you hear it from players who are actually on the field, who are actually in the locker room, who are actually next to this guy every single day. Because I'm sure we've all seen the quote by now by Chad Johnson when they were on the nightcap, and he talked to some young bulls. He talked to Denzel Ward. He didn't want to give away his name, but he already did it. And he said that Denzel Ward says he looks different from the rest of the competition. We've already been seeing.
When word got out that Shedeur Sanders officially moved up to second-team reps, passing Dylan Gabriel along the way, the shockwaves hit from Cleveland all the way to Canton. This wasn't just some small roster tweak, this was huge. One day he's throwing passes to practice squad guys, and the next he's running with the second team, putting real pressure on the starting quarterback spot. The promotion came after Sanders completely dominated minicamp, showing toughness, leadership, and total control on the field. His passes were right on target, hitting receivers in stride. His decision-making was sharp as a blade, and his grasp of the playbook had coaches nodding like proud parents at a school play. But this wasn't beginner's luck. It was steady, calculated execution that the coaching staff just couldn't ignore.
And I don't know, there was never no one thought he was this like malcontent or like a bag. It wasn't.
That was the word,
That was kind of what was being said. That was kind of what was being said.
No. The pre-draft process was so unorthodox that he didn't go through it all like everyone else did. And I think there's a lot that we can look back on this thing, especially if he becomes a star in this league and say, you could point fingers in a million ways. Not having a pure agent, not having the workouts that everyone else did, going to these teams, not necessarily being as willing to throw the ball when asked at the All-Star games, like that kind of stuff I think might have stung him, it might have turned teams off, but I know.
When Stephen A. Smith starts singing your praises, that's when you know you've officially arrived. The ESPN personality, famous for his fiery takes and no-nonsense analysis, didn't just mention Sanders. He gave him the full Stephen A. treatment. He praised Sanders not only for his top-tier football skills, but also for the intangibles that separate the good from the great. This kid's mindset puts him ahead of the pack, Stephen said, with the confidence of someone who's seen enough football to spot greatness from a mile away. He pointed out Sanders' composure, mental toughness, and relentless drive to compete at the highest level. When Stephen A. says, "It's not just about throws and stats anymore," you better believe the whole football world is paying attention.
But this stuff wasn't made up. I covered the draft for ESPN. I'm sitting on the desk. It's Shefty, it's Mel, it's me, it's Lewis. I heard some of the same things that Deion Sanders is talking about. And S.A. and Kenton, you know this, we all have relationships. We all have people who tell us information, they help us prepare to do our job. I heard some of the same things. Some of these things weren't necessarily made up, at least I don't think, from the people that I trust who told me these things. And so,
but if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion.
The $50 million robbery of Shedeur Sanders. Because that's what I just witnessed. Everywhere we've seen, everything we've seen, everybody that has seen him play said he is the one or two in this draft. I love Cleveland picking this kid.
The NFL draft is usually a time of celebration, a moment when dreams come true and talent gets recognized. But in the spring of 2025, that dream took a sharp turn for Shedeur Sanders. Instead of a milestone, it became a nightmare. One that might lead to one of the biggest lawsuits the NFL has faced in years. Shedeur, the Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, was once expected to be a top 10 draft pick. But instead, he slid all the way down to the 5th round, pick number 144, by the Cleveland Browns. Now, quiet speculation has grown into loud conversations. Reports say the Sanders family is getting ready to take legal action against the NFL and several team owners, accusing them of collusion, defamation, and causing long-term financial harm. And the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems. From the outside, Shedeur's sudden drop in the draft doesn't add up.
What we're looking at is a convergence of a lot of history falling into one weekend. There's a history of the NFL and their ideas about protecting the shield and what they feel like. There's histories of the Sanders, history of the quarterback, which makes this really complicated and pretty much impossible to find one specific answer about why Sanders fell. He was probably already a fringe first-round pick, so some of the mock drafts were wrong. There's probably some owners out there who wanted to humble him and Sanders, and then there's just the talent that was there. So I'm not, it's okay, I think, to say we don't know what the specific answer is. What I do know, though, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's important to say, I want to say this to folks on the internet and folks who are paying attention. This is not the Colin Kaepernick situation. This is important to know. Colin Kaepernick was absolutely blackballed from the league for standing up for folks' rights. This is not what Shedeur Sanders went to. He was embarrassed for 48 hours in the draft, and he ended up going to a Browns team where he still could possibly be a starter on that team because they managed to have half of Wu-Tang Clan's worth of bad quarterbacks, and he can still work his way up to a starter. So this is not the same situation. His career can still end up being okay.
Shedeur Sanders led the entire NCAA in completion percentage with an impressive 74.1%, broke several school records, and was right at the center of what many called the most talked about college football storyline in the last 20 years. With months of hype suggesting he wouldn't fall past the early second round, the expectation was clear. But instead, he had to sit through 3 painfully long days. Then came pick number 144, a moment that quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons. The cameras at his private draft party cut away. The champagne never even got opened. The room went completely silent. Deion Sanders didn't hold back afterward. According to those close to him, he was furious, allegedly saying, "This league just blackballed my son." At first, it sounded like a heartbroken father speaking out, but not long after, the leak started.
Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that.
So a lot of times when you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, "Hey, why don't you explain them?" And Shedeur apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, "Well, what do you make of this really bad play?" And Shedeur said, "Maybe I'm not the guy for you." That's not the answer. Another moment, what they do during the film and the combine and the meetings is teams will install mistakes intentionally planted in the install, and they want you to catch them. Shedeur didn't, and when a coach called him out, once again, it didn't sit well. It's like, bro, there's not many teams needing quarterbacks, especially since Pittsburgh appears to have a deal with Aaron Rodgers and Tennessee's getting Cam Ward. So you're down to the Giants, who were not interested at all, and Cleveland, who traded out of that 2 spot because clearly they were looking for next year's class like the Rams are.
Based on internal messages uncovered by a private investigator working with Shedeur Sanders' legal team, messages that haven't been made public yet but are currently being looked into by several independent news outlets, it looks like a few NFL team owners may have raised red flags about the media frenzy and the branding baggage tied to Shedeur. Even more concerning, there are reported claims that some team ownership groups were having behind-the-scenes talks, quietly advising each other to steer clear of drafting Shedeur unless they absolutely had no choice. People close to the Sanders camp say these private conversations even mentioned things Deion said back during Super Bowl week. Those blunt interviews where Coach Prime made it clear they would call the shots and wouldn't play for certain teams. Basically, they were following the same playbook Eli Manning used.
Will you step in Eli Manning like, Deion Sanders like, to the point where like you told him, "Hey man, I ain't taking that psych test with the Giants. I followed you after that. I said I wasn't taking it either." Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
This time around, though, the league supposedly answered with a wall of silence and behind-the-scenes sabotage. According to insiders, the upcoming lawsuit is expected to claim that the NFL worked together to hurt Shedeur's draft stock, not because of his skills, but because of how things looked in the media, internal politics, and bruised egos.
If they played the cards and picked him up in the 5th round, but I surely would like to know how they knew he would still be there in the 5th round. I've been on that stage for years and years and years. I've never seen them position the cameras in position, give forewarning about who's about to be drafted. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, "We got to draft this kid. You just robbed this young man of $50 million. And it wasn't on his playing ability. Wow. Shame on you."
primetime Deion Sanders' natural bravado, coupled with that of his son. They say that the whole interview process wasn't that impressive when he showed up at the NFL scouting combine and refused to work out. That hurt him. The interview process while he was there hurt him, etc., etc. You know what, y'all? I get it. It makes perfect damn sense if he's drafted in the second round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming.
After the draft, analysts on Fox Sports tried to make sense of the slide. Some said Shedeur wasn't a once-in-a-generation type of player. Others questioned his intangibles or pointed to the so-called baggage he brought with him. But instead of cooling things down, those comments only added fuel to the fire for Sanders' legal team. They're asking, how does a quarterback with a higher completion percentage than the #1 overall pick fall more than 130 spots? Why did draft experts rate him so highly, yet not one NFL GM publicly pushed back when he slid? From the Sanders camp's point of view, this wasn't just a case of a poor team fit. It looked more like a deliberate effort to send a clear message. Players don't get to control their future. That power belongs to the league. And nothing seemed to capture that message more clearly than Colin Cowherd's widely shared line: "Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback." According to sources, that quote is already being looked at closely by attorneys and has shown up in early versions of the legal filing. To them, it's more than just a jab. It's part of the case.